Today's video is brought to you by Vite Ramen, and if you've been watching this channel for a while and you haven't tried Vite Ramen yet, now might be the time. They finally offer international shipping, and much more exciting than that, there is now an exclusive flavor that I developed alongside them. It's called Massaman Curry. I think it's the best flavor they have. We spent, it must have been near a year perfecting the flavor. But aside from the fact that they love me, which is, well, nice, Vite Ramen is great for a ton of reasons. Their other flavors are really good as well, although, again, mine, Massaman Curry, is the best. They sustainably operate, they pay their employees well, and the ramen is good for you, which is nice. It's low in sodium, it's got lots of bioavailable nutrients. It's honestly a nice, healthy alternative to eating out. So if you want to try Vite Ramen, click my link down in the description. Not only can you choose from one of the packages, but you'll also get offered a ton of free goodies. Oh yeah, and use code EckhartsLadder for 10% off. By the way, if you haven't checked out the cool animation we made to announce the new flavor, I'll link to that in the upper right corner. But enough of that. Although I love noodles, let's talk about Kenobi. We're on episode 3 now. These haven't had unique episode names like The Mandalorian. This one is just called Part 3. And there was a lot of really good in this episode, but it was by no means perfect. Let's start about what I liked. The basic plot of this episode is, of course, a continuation of the past ones. And one thing that's nice about Kenobi is that this has been a very, very tight story. They've only got 6 episodes to work with, so I'm really relieved that there's been no filler, that they're pretty much keeping to the main plot. And in this episode, the big thing is that we see Obi-Wan finally face off against Darth Vader for the first time since the battle at Mustafar, and only a few hours after learning that his apprentice is still alive. One of the best things about this show, if not the best, has been the contemplative moments that show Obi-Wan really grappling with all the things that he's feeling. He's clearly battling with PTSD, probably a bunch of other things as well, and I like that they give the time to show that. Obi-Wan is not perfect in the show, nor should he be. He's dealing with all of these fears, he's dealing with regret and depression, and all of these things are taking away from the Jedi he should be, and that's another sort of interesting plot element. He's in this galaxy which is very dark, very hostile, which arguably needs the Jedi the most, but of course the Jedi are under constant threat. Very similar to what Cal Kestis was dealing with at the beginning and really all throughout Jedi Fallen Order. The parallels there are pretty obvious. So as Obi-Wan is on the run with Leia, who continues to really genuinely impress me as an actress, she shows so much emotion, even in little moments, but that's an aside. He's still on the run with Leia, and he encounters something that's really cool and actually has a huge significance to the universe. This sort of underground railroad which is moving Jedi to safe places, getting them new identities, all of that. And in this scene, there is one really incredible detail, which I'm willing to bet you missed, and I say that because I missed it too. And I've got to do a whole video about this, but there is something very, very interesting happening in the Kenobi series. I put out a short about this a couple of days ago, but basically in episode 2, the name of the child who the fake Jedi is giving transport to Corellia, by the way, is Corran. Corran Horn is, of course, one of the most famous Jedi in the Star Wars expanded universe. He's also from Corellia and the age matches up, so that was interesting, but if that was the only bit of information, I personally would have just considered that a fun little nod, as they did with Jason Syndulla, who's somewhat of a nod to Jason Solo. The interesting thing is that's not all we got. The IMDb page for the actress who played his mother was actually edited before the episode to give her the name Niche, which was the same name as Corran's mother in the Star Wars expanded universe. The reason I bring this up is because we got a new piece of the puzzle today. On the wall within the Jedi compound is the name Valen Halcyon. This is the name of Corran Horn's father in Star Wars Legends. He was, in the EU, a survivor of Order 66 who went under the name Hal Horn and worked as a member of Corsac on the down low. He hid his status as a Jedi, getting a new identity. So to summarize this point, and this is really interesting, right now we have a child named Corran, we have a rumored woman with the same name as Corran's mother, and we have a character named Valen Horn confirmed. With the X-Wing series approaching and all of this coming together, you gotta wonder whether there's plans to bring Cornhorn back to continuity. That's a bit of an aside though, totally separate from the episode itself. Other characters on the wall included Rogonda Ismarin, who was also a somewhat obscure Star Wars EU character. She was the mother of a Force-sensitive child in what is one of the worst books in my opinion, Children of the Jedi. But in the expanded universe as well, she was a survivor of the Jedi Purges. So very interesting. I'll do more videos about one or both of these characters if you guys are interested. But back on topic, I really liked the setup for this episode. I liked how the Inquisitors were used. I think the internal power structure that we continue to see makes a lot of sense. And there's obviously some other goal that Reva has here when trying to cozy up to Darth Vader. I don't think that she's, for example, a secret agent or the undercover or anything like that. I just think she has greater ambitions, perhaps to be taken on as his apprentice directly. Anyway, I actually thought Vader was used really well in this episode. He was brutal. Him going through the street, randomly killing civilians, including children. Pretty brutal moment for a Disney Plus show. And I thought the fight between him and Obi-Wan was a really good idea as well. Obi-Wan is just too overwhelmed. He's too in his head to even think about fighting Vader, and he just gets absolutely dominated. I like that. I also like that Vader didn't kill him, because that would have made episode 4 and the rest of the Star Wars series make no sense. But really, I think most likely that Vader is trying to use Obi-Wan to either find other Jedi or to find how Jedi are escaping his Inquisitors. It's also possible that he just wants to essentially play with his food. That's what I liked. The episode did, however, have some issues when it came to execution. The Mustafar scene, a lot of people are pointing out, just didn't look right. And I attribute a lot of this to the fact that I'm guessing some directors just aren't as comfortable working with the volume. Like, obviously Jon Favreau knows how to use the volume perfectly for The Mandalorian. He helped to pioneer the technology. Others are definitely not using it to its full strengths. We saw that a little bit in the Book of Boba Fett, although I think that show was pretty good at using it. This show, however, has been a bit awkward at times. The execution hasn't been quite right. A lot of people are also pointing to the Vader Kenobi fight. I thought that was more of a directing issue personally than the volume, but you can definitely see that they're somewhat limited in the space that they can move, and that's affecting the way it's shot. Now, that's not series ruining for me. I don't really mind that much. For me, what's much more important is that the story works out, that the themes are on point, which they have been so far, but I hope as the series continues that they've made improvements, which we'll see in the latter half now. And that's crazy to say. We're halfway done this series. I don't know how they're going to wrap it up in 3 more episodes, but I'm excited to see what they do. I think Vader really helps the show a lot. The Inquisitors just aren't really believable as the main threat, and I think that's how they're supposed to be. That's how they certainly were in Star Wars Rebels. They're dangerous, they're killers, but they're also somewhat incompetent. They're even a little bit silly, but Vader is none of those things, except for deadly. Overall, though, a good but not perfect episode. I'm definitely looking forward to episode 4. I've actually really liked every episode more on subsequent viewing, so I'm kind of wondering whether that'll be the case for episode 3 as well. But let me know. Until next time, guys, have a good one, be safe, and may the Force be with you. And don't forget to pick up some ramen, link down below. Goodbye.